Hey guys, a little bit of a notice before we get into today's documentary. How I'm gonna do this first of all is I'm gonna be doing each faction first, like I'll do the American faction, then you guys choose which one I do next. And then afterwards, like another notice is, if you guys want me to continue doing these documentaries and stuff, I still will. It's just, it'd be cool if I could get volunteers and everything. So, comment down below if you want to be in the next documentary and I can see how I could fit you guys in. Anyways, let's get in today's video. Hello, and welcome to today's documentary. Today we look at the F4f Wildcat. This Wildcat is a newly born plane and one of the first born on this carrier. It now seeks out to gather food for the rest of the naval fleet. An F4f is usually the scavenger of the group. This can be easily told by the fact that it is a flying barrel. It has a secret composite that can store fuel in it. Because of this, they're usually the scavengers and will get oil and return back to base with it to feed the entire colony. F4fs are also very fighter capable. In fact, most F4fs actually also become fighter patrollers, meaning that they usually patrol the area in search of any sort of pesky A5Ms or just regular Japanese planes in general. Today, thanks to a lucky Dauntless that scouted out the area, the Dauntless found out that there was a Jap fleet somewhere. Now, she was able to release pheromones that told the fleet where it was, but shortly after she got shot down, and sadly is at the bottom of the sea. F4f Wildcats usually start out their journey as scavengers, depending on what the fleet decides. This F4f has grown rockets. F4fs can grow bombs or rockets, and it looks like this one has grown rockets. It will now try to collect oil from the nearby area. Now, though the Dauntless had sent in pheromones telling them where the ships are, it was only in the approximate area, meaning that the pheromones may not be completely accurate, but it'll give them a thing or two, and hopefully they can find it. Now, like the Dauntless, the F4f Wildcat obviously is blind. Unlike the Dauntless, which has some form of eyesight, the F4f Wildcat is completely blind. It must rely on its senses. Where it stinks at seeing things, it is very keen on smell and pheromones and hearing. Because of this, they can usually tell whether or not there are any sneaky cates hiding in the clouds. This proves useful. However, now the F4f goes in and prepares to attack the fleet. F4fs usually take around a month or so to regrow rockets, and with bombs, it can take upward to around 6 months or even a year, depending on how heavy the bombs are. Now, unlike the Dauntless, the F4f's bombs are literal bombs. Even the females carry actual bombs and not eggs, as the Dauntless is usually the one that carries the eggs and drops them off. Because of this, F4fs are very good at scavenging, and coupled with all of their other keen senses, makes them a deadly force to be reckoned with. However, through the senses, it has finally found the Japanese fleet, and now prepares to make a strike on it. The cockpit of the F4f Wildcat is basic. Its brain, though not the biggest in town, is still pretty reliable, and it can remember all sorts of things. Usually, because of this, naval airplanes usually can tell where a Japanese fleet is going and can catch up and destroy them, as they have a keen sense of memory. Unlike the military planes, which though they have keen eyesight, they don't have too much of a memory. Because of this makes them all distinct in their own ways. However, the F4f begins its strike. It decides to go for a frigate as they have the most oil. And it looks like this is a fresh Japanese fleet as no planes have been berthed yet. It fires the rockets and pulls off. It's gathered the oil and now pulls back very quickly. It knows that it must not stay in the same area for too long, otherwise the flak will shoot it down. Now, though it got hit, it is very durable. Any sort of American plane, most notably naval planes, can take a beating, especially with this F4f. However, the F4f knows that if it stays for too long, even it will get shot down. It gathers the oil and now retreats. Today, it doesn't look like the F4f had any competition. However, because it didn't hit the carriers, the carriers can still grow Japanese planes. Meaning that in the late future, unless the naval formation grows some more fighters, then this will become a potential threat. Now the Wildcat returns back home with the spoils of war, and then will sleep for about a few weeks until its rockets regrow. In the meantime, though, it flies past Midway. Midway is one of the island bases of the military aircraft. Usually, the terraforming begins when a bomber lands down at the area, and it takes usually around a few months or years to usually terraform. Though the islands aren't mobile, they can contain a lot more fuel and a lot more planes. And while the naval bases are mobile, they can't contain as much planes or as much food reserves. Because of this, they make constant scout runs to see whether or not there are enemy ships nearby or enemy bombers. However, this F4f has done his duty for today and now returns back to the carrier. He cuts down his throttle so he can get his legs up to land. He deploys his flaps and he deploys his hook, which can allow him to land on the carrier without having risk of falling off. It slows down and prepares to put down its legs. However, it's still going too fast. It decides to cut down its throttle a bit more, in hopes of getting its legs up without breaking them. For if a plane goes way too fast and then deploys its legs, it will break, causing the aircraft to be unable to land. But now that it's gotten its legs up, it goes full throttle, as it's already near the carrier. This is usually the challenging part for any sort of naval aircraft and will determine whether or not they will be worthy to the carrier fleet. Though it may look easy, this takes a lot of practice and hard work. And since this F4f is doing this for the first time, it is very stressful. It now prepares for the landing, cutting down all throttle. Sadly, it misses. Now it cuts on full throttle and has to make another pass. Thankfully, though, it didn't fall off the carrier, which would be bad. And around 10 naval airplanes per year die because of the fact that they make a failed landing. This lucky F4f, however, was able to pull out in the nick of time, and now prepares for its landing. It knows that if it fails this, it will soon run out of oil and fuel and will eventually collapse on itself. It makes a hard turn, preparing to go straight in on the carrier. It cuts down all of its throttle, hoping to glide its way over. This is risky business. It prepares to land. And a touchdown! It has successfully landed. And now it rests, for it has done its job, and will now go to sleep for the next few weeks, until another fleet is spotted. It has returned all of its oil, and will sustain the fleet for about a few weeks. And this is the naval channel. This is the naval channel in the documentary of the F4f.